Whenever you hear me speak or you watch any of the videos on my channel, whenever I'm talking to somebody trying to give them advice about their situation or some problem that they're going through, I always speak about the situation from the perspective of the point in which you had your hands on the steering wheel. So whenever somebody would come to me for advice about some issue they were going through or some situation they were dealing with, I would always draw their attention about the situation to the point of the situation that they had their hand on the steering wheel. This is what I mean by that. Let's say you were driving and you made a left on 5th Street. And after you made this left on 5th Street, you're thinking, man, I wonder if I should have made that left. I probably should have kept straight. But you just keep on driving down 5th Street. And the further you drive down 5th Street, it starts getting a little dark because they haven't replaced the street lights in ages and they're all blown out. So it's a very dark side of town. And you keep driving further. The further you drive down 5th Street, the buildings start getting a little bit more raggedy. They're getting worn down because it's a very poor side of town. But you keep driving. The further you go down 5th Street, here comes a mob equipped with baseball bats. And they start hitting your car, smashing the windshield and smashing the headlights. You make a U-turn and get out of there. When you describe this situation to me, you come to me and say, man, these people, man, they damaged my property. They smashed my windshields and damaged my headlights. And I hear you. You say, man, the streets were so dark. It was just a really dark side of town. I couldn't see where I was going. And I hear you. And you say, it was a very poor side of town, man. The buildings were so worn down and raggedy. And I hear you. But after you're done explaining the situation to me, the very thing I'm going to draw your attention back to is the fact that you made a left on 5th Street. That's where I want your attention. That's where I want the bulk of your energy. That is where I want your focus when I get ready to describe to you the advice I'm giving you about your situation. Why is that? Because that is the point of the situation that you had the most control over. You didn't equip those people with baseball bats, did you? Did you spend an afternoon at the sports store buying a dozen baseball bats and passing them out, saying, I'm going to drive down the street a little bit later. I'm going to need you to attack me. I'm assuming you didn't do that. That was something that you much rather would have not happened. So that was not within your control. Did you rob that neighborhood's economy so that it couldn't rebuild and the buildings got poor and damaged? No. That wasn't within your control. Did you knock out all the street lights and make it a dark side of town so you couldn't see where you were driving? No, none of that was within your control. Though you suffered from it, it was not within your control. The part of the situation where your influence and your control was at its peak optimization was your decision to make a left on 5th Street. That's where all your power was. So this is my concern. Why is it that the part of the situation that you had the most power over, you don't care about? Every time we describe a bad situation, our focus is on all the stuff in the situation that we had no power over. And we overlook the parts of the situation that we have the most power over. You want to know why we do that? It is because we give ourselves perpetual self-impunity for decision making. And the reason why we give ourselves perpetual self-impunity for every decision that we make is because we've never been trained to tell ourselves no about anything. We have never taken the time out to train ourselves to say no. If it looks good, if it's an opportunity, if I could obtain it legally and sometimes illegally, if I can get it and it seems beneficial to me and I can eat off of it, or it's just so great I gotta experience it, what's the problem with me having it if I have the opportunity to get it? And so when we walk outside and we look at life and we look at all the people around us, we think we're looking at a buffet where everybody and everything in our prospect is a potential opportunity for anything, sex, relationship, a business move, whatever the case may be. Everything is an opportunity because we never trained ourselves to tell ourselves no, because we don't understand that everything is not for us. Something may not be for you just because it's not. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that it ain't yours. That's it. I've given myself perpetual self-impunity for the decisions that I make. So when I describe a problem that I'm going through with somebody, I'm not thinking about the fact that I made the decision to entertain them. I'm looking at their behavior in the situation because there was nothing wrong with my decision to get involved with them. Because what's the problem with me taking an opportunity if it presented itself? There's nothing wrong with that. All I did was take advantage of something that came about, right? So yeah, that's not the problem at all. Next question. But what they did, shut up. When you make a decision, everything outside of that decision is out of your control. The part that you have the most power over is the fact that you make the decision. That's where your influence over the situation is at its peak optimization. That's when you're the most powerful. That's when you have the most influence. So a little while ago, I made a video where I asked the question, is asking somebody what they have to offer in a relationship a dumb question? And I meant that. Here's the reason why. Nobody forces you to be with anyone or even to entertain anybody. If you make a decision to get involved with somebody, it is never their fault. Unless somebody has you bound and gagged, tied up in a basement somewhere, telling you, hey man, I mean it, you better date her or there's gonna be consequences. If that didn't happen to you, and I'm pretty sure it didn't, your decision to get involved with that person was a personal decision. Meaning that if you entertained somebody who was less than what you wanted, isn't that your fault? So the first thing is I'm drawing your attention to the fact that you didn't have to entertain them. But the main thing I want to focus on is the fact that you don't have to entertain everybody. Because we walk outside thinking that everything is an option, then everything must be measured. No, it doesn't. This person was crossing the street to go to the grocery store to do their grocery shopping. But you, in your insatiable appetite, started sizing them up for a relationship. Oh, that's an option right there. Everything that catches your eye is an option. You've never told yourself, hey man, calm down. You never said that to yourself. Everyone who ever showed you attention, you had to entertain them. And it's their fault. Now, because of your insatiable appetite, everything now has to prove its worth. You have to take out your measuring stick to see if it's worth having. It wasn't even a prospect. That person's not supposed to be a prospect. They were outside minding their business and they're a relationship prospect to you. They're grocery shopping. Mind your business. If you got to know yourself well enough to know what you would need to be in a relationship or at a job or in a connection with a group of people or moving to a different city, whatever the case may be, if you got to know yourself well enough to know what you needed, you would never have to entertain anybody outside of those needs. If those needs were so important to you that they have the ability to make you think that somebody's value is down here or to measure them low on your measuring stick because they're not measuring up to what you needed, that means those needs are really important to you, right? So you don't have to entertain anybody who doesn't have them. That means if you run into somebody where you don't see it off the bat, they didn't fail. They're not inadequate. They're not even an option. You're making them an option. They're not an option. That person was minding their business. You could have said no. You could have said, hey, I'm just here to do my laundry. I'll talk to you later. You could have said anything. You entertained it. You engaged entertaining somebody. That's not their fault. Everything is not an option. Yes, you can be alone for a while. Yes, you can be single. Yes, you can stay put for a while. No, you don't have to go take that position. You can tell yourself no so that you don't walk around measuring everything as a candidate for positions that you don't even have to sign them up for. Everyone is a potential date. That tells me not that they're inadequate, but you don't have a gate on yourself at all. You give yourself permission to entertain everything and it's their fault for not measuring up. That is a much bigger problem, in my personal opinion, than whether or not they're doing what they're supposed to do in a relationship. That's what needs to be addressed about you. Let me know what you think. I'm out.